Bowl first, Jarrod Kimber. Here's the show. So we know that Wankhede has not been a place for spin. Before today, 5 wickets had fallen to spinners in 10 innings. But that's not what this show is it? We don't just mindlessly say that. We go deep into the grassy knolls. I'm not sure where we go. We go somewhere. After Jos Buttler hit that 6 off Ravi Jadeja, which was really a 7, but that's the real maximum. Spinners had taken, up until that point, at Wankhede 6 wickets in 11 and virtually a half innings in this series so far. They've been going at 9 runs and over. From that moment onwards, the last, what was it, 10.1 overs or something like that, they took 5 for 15. It's absolutely ridiculous. Jos Buttler hit the ball so hard that he changed the pitch. He changed the ball. He changed life itself. The planet actually started spinning in a different direction. Now, this is me having a bit of fun, as you can see on this graph, because it is fun. I mean, this is true. It's not that we expect this to keep happening, because we don't. But this is how much the pitch changed, or sorry, in this case, the ball changed, with one little moment. It was a phenomenal difference. The first 75% of this match, spinners were not a factor. And then suddenly, game over. And no one really expected this. Sanju Samson said that he was shocked when the ball started spinning. My first note from the first game at Mumbai, looking up there, because that's where my notes are, literally says due, right? It has been a huge factor. Remember Moeen Ali bowling full tosses early on in Chennai's earlier game. You know, it's been such a big factor. And suddenly, Jos Buttler hits the ball into a different postcode. They replace the ball. MS Dhoni, according to Harsha Bhogle, says almost straight away, it's a dry ball, will turn. It must be the world's driest ball. I mean, it ripped straight away. This happens sometimes in cricket. You replace a ball, and the next one swings a little bit more. You know, sometimes you have a session where everyone's batting fine, and then a little bit of cloud cover happens, or the opposite. The sun comes out, and the wicket completely changes. Okay, this just seemed violent. The actual difference was absolutely astronomical, and it completely iced the game. Jos Buttler lost the Royals the game by hitting a 6. What? So Jadeja's first 2 overs, he spent a lot of time drying his hands, the ball, drying everything he could find really, went for 22 runs. He then took 2 for 6 after that, after Buttler's hit. Moeen Ali, he took 3 for 7. Now, I'm a big fan of both of these people, but that is ridiculous. But let's have a look at those 2 bowlers, because so far, they've been almost taken out of the match situation because of the dew in Mumbai, and also the pitch to a certain degree, although today both of them seem to help them. But if you actually have a look at their records over the last, 3 and a bit seasons, they have been absolutely incredible. To have both of them in your team, when one spins it that way and one spins it that way, they can both hold down top 6 positions. It gives you such incredible flexibility. They don't even have to bowl if you don't want them to bowl. That's how many options there are in this particular team. That is a brilliant situation for Chennai to be in. I want to say it worked the way it was designed to. That's not quite right. It worked, sometimes against its design and sometimes with its design. But let's just quickly go through this batting lineup. Gaikwad is an anchor. Du Plessis is an anchor. Moeen Ali attacks spin. Suresh Raina attacks spin. Rayudu can hit on his day. Jadeja is becoming a frontline batter in almost every format. At the very least, a very good number 6 in T20 cricket. Dhoni is still not himself, but he's probably going to have a few high heights because that's what happens with older players. Curran can certainly hit and, gives you flexibility with your batting lineup. Dwayne Bravo's a little bit like Dhoni, isn't he? No one's really expecting him to smash the ball anywhere, but when he does, bonus. Shardul Thakur, wild slogger, realistically. He's not an all-rounder, but a very handy wild slogger for T20 cricket. And Chahal is a better number 11 than you would normally get, right? That is an incredible lineup when you look at it all the way through. We've seen what England has managed to do in white ball cricket with a similar sort of batting lineup. What that allows you to do is really, really push hard. And when you get into a state where you've lost a lot of wickets or you've had a lull for whatever reason, you could just snap it back on. And that is what Chennai did today. I think only Gaikwad didn't make it to a strike rate of 100, right? Everyone else got in, got out. Some of them did very well. None of them passed 35.
Some of them did quite poorly, but they all got in and got out. No one chewed up a lot of balls. There wasn't any real estate. You know how much I hate that. I hate people taking up real estate that they don't need to take up, right? Most of the batters either got on with it very quickly and were out very quickly, or they didn't stick around long enough to cause any problems. And this wasn't perfect. I don't think they pushed hard enough. They actually had a bit of a lull, especially when MS Dhoni came in. There was a real lull there, and they had 2 runouts. 1 run out is bad, 2 run outs is above average. The thing is, I don't think this was that good an innings. They won the game and they got enough runs for this particular game. But I think they left a lot of runs. If you have 11 batters, I don't think your opener needs to start as slowly as Gaikwad does. And maybe he just can't bat any quicker. That's more than possible as well. But essentially, I think they can push a lot harder. I think a lot went wrong here. They ended up 9 wickets down. That's very rarely the plan. They had those run-outs. They had a lull in the middle, and they still made it to 188. I'm not quite sure it's all going to work perfectly, but there's a lot of good that can come out of this batting line. And I think they will have to make more runs. They've got a couple more games in Mumbai, and they are going to have to make more runs here because their bowling attack, unless Jos Buttler changes the ball again, is probably not going to be suited by these conditions. It's very early in the season. Teams have not played in more than one location yet. And it's very hard to make a very big call based on that fact, I think. I think that is very fair. But the Royals do not look like... If I thought the Royals were a better team, I would throw this game away. I would just say, look, it's a T20 game. It got away from you a little bit there with the ball, and then with the bat, things didn't quite go your way, and that would be absolutely fine. If Ben Stokes was still around, especially if Jofra Archer was still around, I'd be more than happy with that. Looking at this team at the moment, though, there are big warning signs here. I don't think they're a write-off or anything, but I'm not quite willing to throw this game away for the Royals. And there's a couple of things here. They have Chris Morris, and they have Mustafiz Rahman. Those are 2 good death bowlers, and they were atrocious at the death today. That's not going to happen every time, obviously. And you can have 2 really good death bowlers and it not particularly work for you. But that's kind of the period where Chennai got away from them. Up until that point, I thought they were really in the game. Now, part of that clashes with Chennai's long batting lineup. There is no doubt about that. But it is a concern, I think, for them. I think there is almost at no stage during this innings that you thought that anyone other than Buttler, perhaps Miller, could get them anywhere near this total. They've got 2 batters in their top 4 that I'm not sure are IPL quality right here, right now. That is a huge concern, and I'm not sure they can make a bunch of changes to make that a stronger lineup. It certainly felt today that it was basically Jos Buttler was going to win them the game, or it wasn't going to happen. Now, Jos Buttler is a phenomenally talented player. I think this was quite a subdued knock for him. He went at a slower strike rate than I would have expected. Perhaps he was put off by his own 6. Or he was waiting to go a bit bigger at the end, which is fine. He was still batting at a decent rate. Just never felt like there was going to be anything around him unless David Miller played a very similar innings to the other night. And I think that's a huge, huge problem for them going forward. Just a couple of players I think worth looking at because of the Royals' top order. It'd be interesting to see if Ryan Parag actually moves up the order. I know it's not as if he's setting the world on fire, but they're going to have to get something. They're going to have to make a change here. And he's already in their lineup. Obviously, he's a decent fielder as well, and he has some bowling skill with him. Be interesting to see what happens. So there's a chance he might go up the order, give himself more of a chance to make some runs, and he'll obviously occasionally bowl those weird balls that he's been bowling. Chetan Sakaria is looking like, to me, he's going to have a high wicket and a high economy season. Arshdeep Singh, is another bowler that you can look at and you can see similar things. You sometimes see these with young bowlers coming through in T20 competitions. They have a knack of taking wickets because people haven't seen them that much, but they also go for a lot of runs. That's the kind of season I'm assuming from him. The Fizz. I'm still very high on the Fizz, but I'm not 100% sure he is the death bowler he once was. He looks very good to me at the top of the order and maybe in the middle. I'm going to keep a bit of an eye on him at the death because that is usually where he makes his most impact. Moeen Ali, he's looking good with bat and ball at the moment, isn't he? I know he only made 26 today. I thought he batted better in the last game, but there's a lot to like there. In fact, let's broaden that out a little bit. The entire Chennai top 5, if they don't all take the handbrake off, and I know Moeen Ali is kind of without handbrake most of the time, but if they don't all take the handbrake off with batting down to number 10 and number 11, When are they going to, realistically? As I said, today, I thought they actually didn't bat to their full potential, and they still made a very decent score. What could they do if they really let this go? So I think their top 5, it's a possibility you might get a bit of a fluctuating scores. You might get some 30 off 15 innings and some very low scores as well. But they should be able to light up some strike rates with absolutely no pressure on them. It could be hella fun. In fact, that top 5 might even have Sam Curran in it at times and maybe some other pinch hitters. They've got so many different batters and different situations and different matchups that they can throw at their top order. Could be a really, really interesting time for Chennai. That's me for today. I'll see you again tomorrow. Remember to subscribe, like, share, tell your auntie about it. All the good things. Watch all the other videos on the channel, especially Ben Dunk. That's my personal favorite. And I will see you right here tomorrow. I mean, you just click on the link and I'll appear. I think that's how it works.